the back end of the webinar today. If you have any questions about the presentation or just logistical questions, please type them to me using the question feature. After Kathy Robinson finishes her presentation, we'll take all of your questions. And again, just type them to me using the question feature, and then I'll ask them out loud after Kathy finishes her presentation. So now I'm going to turn it over to WAND Executive Director Susan Scher, and Susan is going to open us up. Susan?
Hi, everyone. Udzi just said that she does the back end of this webinar service for WAND, and really what that means is she's in charge of all the buttons, and she's in charge of all the questions, and does a magnificent job of keeping all of this flowing. So I want to thank Udzi for doing that. And I have to tell you why I'm so excited about this conference. And this is the 10th conference that I've done. I've been with the organization for 20 years. And I have to say that it's coming together not only at such a wonderful time for of the year, but also because of what's happening in Congress right now. All of the issues that we talk about are headline issues, absolutely front page headline issues. In fact, we will be on the Hill on October 1st, which is the day that the new federal budget year is supposed to go into effect. And no, they have not actually voted on a budget from last year yet. So they're doing what they call a continuing resolution, and they'll be doing another one probably before October 1st. So our issues around the budget and budget priorities is right on their desks now. So we will be talking to them about something that is of primary interest to them. And the other thing that they're very interested in is war and peace. They've been debating Syria, and we're going to talk to them somewhat about Afghanistan and women, peace, and security, and about how women should be at the peacekeeping table. And that is right on the front page, too. And the third thing we're going to be talking about, and Kathy's going to go all over this in detail, has to do with nuclear weapons. And, as you probably know, WAND started out as Women's Action for Nuclear Disarmament, and it was all about women really being frustrated that that was way too much money. It was making everybody insecure all over the world, including people all over this country. And now we're looking at 21st century needs as it relates to war and peace. And is that a real way to be spending our money? Is that a priority? Is nuclear weapons a priority? So we're going to be going all into that, not only deeply, but in a very interesting and storytelling kind of way, so that you can really feel it in your gut and not just in your head. And we have the kinds of speakers that really will do that for you. So it is, I just finished reviewing all the biographies of everyone, and I have to say there just isn't anyone who is coming and presenting at this conference who wouldn't or couldn't be a plenary speaker from the platform. And all of you who are coming could be too, because when I look at the list of people that attending, it's major. So it's going to be exciting in a lot of ways, not the least of which will be that you'll be in our nation's capital. You'll all be together, and when you go to the Hill, you're going to be there on a day that is really important in the timing of our issues on Capitol Hill. So now I want to introduce you to Kathy Robinson, and she is going to just give you an overview of the issues that we're going to be talking about. But when you ask questions, you could ask everything from where is the hotel to should I bring an umbrella? And the answer to that latter one is yes. Kathy?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Susan. I'm just going to figure out how to work my little slideshow here. And what really we're going to go over today is a lot of the basic process for the conference and for the lobby days and how that all works together. We're going to talk about how to connect the dots of what you learn and hear about in the conference with your Hill meetings, and how to make sure that those lobby meetings are we're really getting out our best messages. We will talk a little bit more about the Capitol Hill mood and what might be happening when you're here on and lobbying on October 1st. We'll go over briefly our basic policy requests and issues, and you'll see much more of that. I think be very well prepared this year. And then we really want to make sure we address any questions that you have. I just wanted to make sure that you've seen pictures of two of our two fearless leaders here, and you heard Susan Scher, Executive Director, and you might have missed it because she was talking about so many things, but this is Susan's 20th year with WAND, and so she's done 10 conferences, and so when she says this one is really exciting, she knows what she's talking about. Nan also, many of you know, our president of our WIL program, our Women Legislators Lobby program, is the leader in helping this conference to really come together. And we have two fabulous conference coordinators right here in Washington, D.C., and I know that you've talked to them or received emails from them. On the left of your screen pictured here is Adzibo Kiwa, who's our Senior WAND WIL Associate, and on the right is Kimberly Niono, our WAND WIL Program Associate. And you'll be seeing and hearing more from them. I did want to make sure that we go over some of the real basic logistics, since you're probably just starting to think about what am I going to pack and what am I going to bring. And Susan said yes to the umbrella, and that's right. Like most places around the country, as we're starting fall, the weather is starting to be a little unpredictable. You know, some days it's in the 50s and 60s, some days it's warmer. We don't usually get real cold here, but there might be rain, and that would be cold and uncomfortable, so please plan for that. The other thing I want to make sure everybody remembers to bring is comfortable shoes. It is a little bit of walking to get around to the hill. We have a really great location in our hotel this year. It's close to where the hill is, and we also are providing vans. So we'll go over that a little more, but nevertheless, there is something uniquely hard and uncomfortable about the marble floors in the Capitol and the House and Senate office buildings. So please bring your comfortable shoes. I've included this link here, which is to our website, which has a lot of the basic frequently asked questions and basic information about the conference that Kimberly and Udzi have put together for you. This year, we're trying to really make sure that what you learn at the conference is empowering and exciting and all of those things, and also that it really connects to helping you deliver a clear message on the Hill. And I just want to highlight a couple examples of some key panels that we'll have during the conference, and we'll have little worksheets for you to fill out that really relate back to our messaging. So on Sunday, we're going to start off talking about Pentagon spending and budget priorities. That's cost of wars versus the cost of living. Do we have to choose? And then on Monday, we have lots of great panels. Two of them are the cost of nukes versus real security. And then we have another panel on our women building sustainable peace and real security. After we've, after we are done with our many presentations from the conference on Monday afternoon, we're going to have a real training agenda for you. And this will include meeting with and planning with all the other folks who have come from your state together. On Monday morning, we're actually going to ask you to go into our conference room and be seated in specific places in your state delegations. We'll start out our training agenda on Monday with just a basic review of the Lobby Day process and logistics. And then you'll have an opportunity to meet with your state delegation. And For some of you, you'll be getting some information when you register that has you playing a bit of a leadership role. I don't think it's anything too difficult, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. If that's the case, we'll try to let you know ahead of time. I'll send you an email, or there will be an explanation of what you're supposed to do when you register on Sunday. One of the other things that we're going to do is our WAND policy team is going to present some messaging role plays for you to give you really good crystallized examples of what to say on our key issues. And then we'll answer your questions on Monday. And then on Tuesday morning, we'll have breakfast together at the hotel. And then everyone will go out to their Hill meetings. And I do want to assure you that we're going to have maps available for you to have, and we'll review all of where everything is at the training. We have also a giant map that we're going to borrow from a colleague organization that we'll have in the room. And what we want you to do on Monday, and maybe some on Tuesday morning as well, is coordinate with your team, your state team, and map out all of your different meetings. Then we will have vans available from the hotel. Also, for some of you, walking might be a preferred option. The hotel is very close to the Senate office buildings, and then sort of across the Capitol, what we call across the campus, to the House side. And that's a longer walk or van ride. In the case that it's really difficult to figure out how to take a van because you have a schedule that doesn't work with our circling van, or the weather's really bad, or some other physical limitations, then you can take a taxi. You'll need to have cash on hand for that. I know in lots of other real-world cities that you can use a credit card, but in Washington, D.C., you still really have to have cash for a cab. And that usually, to get from the sort of Senate side over to the House or vice versa, is between $10 and $15 for a cab ride. And of course, if you're going, please try to get as many people as you can in that cab. We will reimburse you for cab rides, but not whatever portion you might give to the driver for a tip. And we have some rules about our proffer receipts and some forms that we'll have available for you on Tuesday. But we hope that it will be possible for most of you to take the vans, and that will work well. One of the other things that we're doing on Tuesday when you head to the Hill is a congressional luncheon. This has been one of my favorite events of the conference and lobby days. So a number of members of Congress will drop by briefly and speak. We also often have people who have come back from meetings and are super excited about something that happened, and they just come up, take the mic, and explain to us. We will be providing you lunch, some brown bag lunches or box lunches, and this will also be the place where you can drop off your lobby report forms, which we're going to explain to you in detail how we get the report backs from each of your meetings and how important that is as we continue our work on all of these issues. The one thing that we would ask that you please don't plan to bring and leave is your luggage. And there's two reasons for that. One is that it's going to be pretty crowded in that room with a lot of people coming in and out, and it's just kind of inconvenient. And it's also not the best security for you. And I don't want anybody to lose laptops or luggage. So I want to go over a few other sort of logistical tips, and some of you who've come to a lobby days or been on the Hill before know that the security can be really difficult, and I would suspect that on the day that you all will be here, it's going to be particularly zooey because of the sort of fiscal cliff negotiations and the end of the year. So it's going to be a busy time on the Hill. I really encourage you to bring your ID and as little else as possible, and just think of it like going through an airport. And for most meetings, you will not need your ID. I did include that because some of you might be having meetings like if you meet with Mitch McConnell, for example, in the Capitol Rotunda, you might be going through a place where they ask for your ID. You, of course, want to dress professionally, but as I mentioned before, wear comfortable shoes. If you're lost in the building, and believe me, I am constantly lost over there, even though I've been a few times. One of the things that I recommend is just stop and ask a security guard. And if you're really lost and you don't know where you are, you should have the number for the office where you're going, and you can call them. And they'll either come and rescue you or give you directions. When you gather before or after a meeting, to help prepare, refresh your memory about what you're going to say, or you're talking about things afterwards, I just caution you to be aware of what else is going on around you. I've seen and I've heard about it. Sometimes people stand right outside the door of the office that they met, and they start talking about the meeting and how awful it was, and other staff from that office are walking by and hear you. So you just have to be a little bit aware of your surroundings. I have a few meeting tips, which I phrase this, minding your P's and Q's, just sort of some basic etiquette and things that might help the meetings go well and be as effective as possible. The first is to plan and be prepared, and we are hoping to help you do that as well as we can. We will provide profiles with information about each meeting, member of Congress or the senator that you're going to be meeting with, as well as information about the issues that we're talking about and the specific policy requests. And we're going to give you time on Monday again at the training to plan all of this with your team. Please try to be punctual to the meeting, and don't keep. They might keep you waiting, but don't keep them waiting if at all avoidable. And that means every member of the team. It can be kind of distracting if 5 people arrive on time, but then there are 3 people coming in late. So my recommendation is to try to gather yourselves all together before you go in, and don't start until you're meeting, all of your members are there. When you're in the meeting, quickly prioritize. Ask for how much time you have for the meeting. Usually the meetings are about 15 minutes. Oftentimes when you're meeting with a member of Congress or the senator, there will be some interruptions like a photo, and maybe you'll only have a couple of minutes with the member. So you want to make sure you really are well organized, and if there's only time to get one point out, that you all know what that is and who's going to ask it. Of course, be polite and try to be as positive as possible. And remember that you're trying to cultivate a relationship with this person and this office, because there might be things in the future, even if it's not an office that you imagine doing that you have a lot of compatibility with, there may still be things that you want to go back to with this person and this particular office. We try hard to find a thank you for everyone. Sometimes, for some, that's difficult on our issues. And if that's the case, maybe you can find something that's not so related to our direct issues, like, thank you for helping make sure the post office on 1st and Main got built. But we try really hard to find something that you can thank the office for, something related to our issues. And I have, don't quarrel, don't get into an argument with a staffer or a member of Congress if there's something that you're really coming up on a wall, just move on. But do be persistent, and particular, asking for really concrete things that the person you're talking to can do, and ask for commitment. This is particularly a problem often in meetings when we're meeting with people who we really like, that we're really friendly with. We spend the whole time talking about how wonderful they are, or how messed up and weird it is that Congress is having all these problems dealing with fiscal crises, but we forget to bring up the issues that we really came to talk about, and forget to ask for what we really want. So pay close attention in all of the meetings. Really ask questions, listen to the answers, and write them down. Be political and personal. You all are constituents with unique access and weight, and your personal connection and your concern and passion about these issues is much more important than being the perfect, polished lobbyist. They want to know what you think, because you're a constituent that they care about. So keep that in mind. So the mood on the Hill, and Susan went into this a bit and accentuated how this is a really prime time to be coming and talking about budget priorities, because we are once again in a big, major fiscal showdown. And as Susan said, October 1st is the day that fiscal year 2014 begins, we hope. Still a possibility, and it's just, the news is changing daily about whether or not they're going to be able to pass a continuing resolution to maintain keeping the government open, or whether there might be a government shutdown on October 1st. And by the way, even with a government shutdown, we anticipate that meetings will go forward. There might be some things that don't happen, or don't happen quite the way that we were expecting, but we think that in general our lobby day will still happen if there's a government shutdown. And we will do our best to keep abreast of this and let you know what's coming and how it will affect things. But regardless, it is prime time to be talking about what our nation's budget priorities are. And then Susan mentioned Syria and the debate over war and peace, which has been really intense and has some very interesting carryover to our issues around women, peace, and security, and also around nuclear weapons, and issues around control of weapons of mass destruction and so forth. Syria is also an issue that came up so quickly, like when Congress was on recess and then coming back, and it really pushed a lot of things that the Senate and the House were planning to deal with when they got back in September, and they didn't do any of that stuff. So some of those issues might be starting to kind of rise up again, and one of them we will be addressing a little bit is military sexual violence, and that might come up as part of the defense authorization bill in the Senate. And that will also be, the defense authorization bill will also be very pertinent to our budget priorities, Pentagon spending issues, as well as nuclear weapons. So even if there aren't any further developments, major developments or changes on Syria, which of course is possible, Syria has affected what's happening and what's of interest on the Hill. So I have a couple of the key issues that we're going to be talking about here, and I've just put some brief blurbs up here about what we're going to be talking about in terms of Pentagon spending. As hopefully all of you know, WAND and Will followers, the Pentagon budget eats up over half of our discretionary spending. That's the part that Congress appropriates every year. And for years now, it's been squeezing out other budget priorities and needed investments. And as we look at these ongoing fiscal showdowns, budget caps, more and more we're seeing pressure to release the Pentagon spending and make sure that they can spend as much as they want at the expense of everything else. So we really think that it's important to give the message that Pentagon spending must be on the table. It has to be scrutinized for cost savings, and there are still many places that we can save money by cutting wasteful programs at the Pentagon. We are also going to focus on nuclear weapons issues, looking at the cost of nukes versus real security. The United States maintains a large and very expensive Cold War-era nuclear weapons arsenal. And we think that measures to reduce this arsenal will also save us money, but they will increase our security. And in addition to finding cost savings here and reducing nuclear weapons, there are some areas where we need to make investments and put forth some stronger efforts to stop the spread of nuclear weapons around the globe. And so we'll talk about that. And I should have mentioned when we were back on Pentagon spending, let me go back, Emily Charlap, who's our policy officer here and has been, by the way, scheduling all of your meetings, also focuses a lot of her lobbying efforts and time on Pentagon spending. So you'll hear more from her during our conference and our training. And Erica Fine is our nuclear weapons policy officer, and you'll be hearing more from her about our nuclear weapons issues and nuclear weapons acts. And then the third category is our Women, Peace, and Security agenda. And Tanya Henderson, our policy director, is the leader on this, and you'll be hearing lots from Tanya about the Women, Peace, and Security program. And our issue here is developing women building sustainable peace and real security. And our purpose with promoting the Women, Peace, and Security agenda is to promote the role of women in a 360-degree way in peace building and conflict prevention, protecting women and girls from gender-based violence in conflict, and ensuring that women and girls have equitable access to humanitarian aid during crises and disasters. And of course, Afghanistan and Afghan women is one area where we really have to emphasize the Women, Peace, and Security agenda and U.S. policy, especially as we withdraw troops from Afghanistan. So that's just a taste of the key issues we're going to focus on. I want to let you know that there is going to be a fair amount of paper when you register, giving you information about all of these things. We're trying now to make it as streamlined and clear and concise as possible for you. We're going to give you some talking points and issue information to help you connect the dots between what you learn from all of our great panelists at the conference and then going to the Hill. We're going to give you copies of each issue asked and the leave behind that. So asks, it means what we're wanting Congress to do about these policy issues. And the leave behinds are the paper and the little packet of information that we're going to leave behind for each congressional office. We will give you profiles for each of your meetings so that you know a little something about the member that you are meeting, a little bit about how she or he voted on some key issues, and hopefully something that you can thank the office for. And we're going to give you some instructions for the Hill training activities, and for some of you that will include some team leading instructions. And then we will give you the very important report back forms, and these are forms that we ask you to fill out for each meeting and then give back to us so that we have it for our information and also to share with our colleagues as we work to move forward legislation and other measures on women, peace, and security, on nuclear weapons policy, and on all of that. And this helps both you and us to develop a stronger relationship with each of these offices. We will have places at the luncheon where you can leave these forms. We'll have a place at the hotel. You can always give them to me or to Emily. And we will also have, you can send them to us by email. And if we don't get them by the end of the day on Tuesday, we will be calling you. So there's no escape from us. You have to turn these in. So I think that is all I have for now, but I'm very happy to take all of your questions. I do want to say that for some of you, I probably will be reaching out to have some conversations with you about some of the specific meetings that we've scheduled for you. Some of you are part of very large delegations. We have 20 people coming from Georgia. We have over, I think, a dozen people coming from Minnesota, and a few other states with quite large delegations, which is kind of a challenge for you all to manage. So I may be reaching out to some of you ahead of time to help figure out how best to do that. And if you have any questions for me at all, please don't hesitate to call. My email address is here, and my cell phone as well as office phone. And I'm going to let's go back to Udzi, and she will tell you how to best ask questions.
Thanks, Kathy. That was really helpful. And just a reminder to everyone, you should have a question section in your attendee panel. If you have a question for Kathy, please type it in, and then I'll ask them out loud. So Kathy had a couple of questions from participants while we're waiting for everyone else to send in their questions. And can you just talk a little bit more about what the security process is like getting into the Capitol, and just more about the kinds of things people can bring in? Like, can we bring in an iPad or a camera? Can you just talk a little bit more about that, Kathy?
Sure. You do have to go through a metal detector, but you can bring in a camera and iPads and those kinds of things. There's no problem with that. And like I said, in most offices, it's not like they're going to check your ID at the door for a Hill office. Some of the meetings which might be actually in the Capitol building, you might need an ID for that. Other than that, I think it's kind of the common sense restrictions that you would follow when you're going through airport security. You know, no weapons, no things like that. But I don't think any of you are going to bring weapons anyway.
I hope not. Let's see. I guess it's a question I know the answer to, but Susan Cundiff was wondering who is scheduling the meetings. And the answer to that is Emily Charlap. She's our public policy officer / PAC manager, has been working very, very hard scheduling all the meetings for our more than 150 participants. So when you registered on the form, you put in your member of Congress, and so she's been reaching out to your member of Congress and your senators scheduling meetings. So a big thank you to Emily, because it's no easy task keeping all of that organized. Let's see what other questions we have from our participants. Can you talk more about the dress code for Sunday and Monday at the conference?
I think that we have business casual as the official dress sort of code for the hotel, and just I think professional dress would be appropriate for meetings. Washington, D.C. is not an avant-garde fashion capital. I mean, the dress style here is just kind of conservative. And so, traditionally, what you what you might wear to a job interview, that kind of thing is what we tell people in terms of the meetings.
Thank you, Kathy. So we have sort of general questions that are coming in and not quite so lobby day specific. So Kathy, I hope you don't mind. I'll just answer some of those more general conference questions. So we have questions about lunch and meals that are going to be served during the conference. So as I hope you all know by now, the conference will begin at about 1 o'clock on Sunday, September 29th. We're going to have boxed lunches available for all of our participants. And on Sunday evening, we'll have a dinner program. We're going to have a dinner and a film screening, so that will be served as well. The other meals that we're providing during the conference is breakfast, lunch, and lunch on Monday. And then we'll have our torchbearer reception at the Teamsters building Monday evening. And that's just going to be a reception with heavy hors d'oeuvres, and we'll be honoring Congresswoman Donna Edwards there. And then on Tuesday, we'll be serving you breakfast before you go off to the Hill to meet with your members of Congress. And then we'll have a luncheon that Kathy mentioned. Tuesday afternoon, there will be boxed lunches provided there, and members of Congress will be coming in to speak during that time. So while you're here with us at the conference for the duration of the agenda, we will be feeding you, because we want you all to be happy and fed and have the energy for our very rigorous agenda. Let's see, some other kind of general questions that we have is about food options. So I think you all noticed on your registration that we asked you to put in if you had any particular dietary needs, if you were vegetarian, vegan, any food allergies, that sort of thing. And we've taken all of that information and compiled it and made considerations as we plan the meals. So there will be vegetarian, vegan, kosher, gluten-free, all that sorts of things. But if you did not indicate that, or if you have any questions or concerns about your specific dietary needs, please feel free to call Kimberly or to call me, and we'll make sure to address that with our hotel. More questions about what to wear. So for Monday evening, for our torchbearer reception, I think we can kind of stick with the business casual, but you're certainly welcome if you want to dress up and wear something more formal. You are certainly welcome to do that. But really the lobby day on Tuesday when you're meeting with your members of Congress is going to be the time when you'll need to be most professionally dressed, like Kathy said, like for a job interview. Okay, so here's a more lobby day specific question for you, Kathy. Regarding departure on Tuesday, how much time should we allow to walk or to ride from the Hill back to the hotel to get luggage and to get airport?
So this is a very good question. If you're over on the house side, you probably will want to take the van back, or it's a maybe as much as a mile walk, about that. And if you're on the Senate side, on where the Senate has its office buildings, you're a little closer to the hotel. And you could probably walk back in 10 or 15 minutes, or get back quicker with a van or a cab. And then the problem is running it into rush hour could make it complicated to get to the airport, and it might take a little longer. But I think you could usually safely plan for 20, 30 minutes. Maybe I'll throw that question back to Kimberly, who I know drives a bit more and maybe has made more trips to the airport than me.
Well, just to answer, to provide a little bit more info, someone else, while you were answering that question, Kathy, asked about taking public transportation to the hotel, from the hotel to the airport, and what the cost was. I think if you are interested in doing that, it's a relatively easy process to get from the hotel to the airport using the Metro, and we sent around the link to the WAMTA site in the conference information so that you can specifically see all the information about the Metro. And the cost, it depends on how far you're going, but I would recommend just going to the Metro website if you have specific questions about the public transportation, the cost, and they also have like a trip estimator where they will factor in rush hour and that sort of thing if you have questions about that. Okay, so another more Lobby Day specific question is, do you suggest having a team leader for each meeting that will lead the questions and a note taker for each meeting?
Yes, we do. And when we meet with during the training, we'll meet with your state delegation and kind of assign some of those key roles. So you might not have one person who does, who does all the talking. You might divide up the issues, but having somebody to take notes is very important, and again, to fill out that report back form. And the other thing is somebody that would be sort of willing to keep track of the time and make sure that you're covering all your issues and have a way of signaling the other team members that it's time to move on. Those kinds of things, and we will go over that in detail and give you a chance to sort of work with everybody and make sure those roles are very clear.
All right, I'm just looking through the questions one more time. Let's see, we really don't have many more questions relating to Lobby Day. Just some more questions about the general transportation and how much time to allow to get to the hotel and that sort of thing. And the information that we sent out to all of you is that we recommended making your departure for no earlier than 4 p.m. on Tuesday, October 1st, to allow for the luncheon to end. And we're trying to schedule all the meetings as early as possible, but of course we're at the whim of our congressional offices and have to go according to their schedule. So no earlier than 4 o'clock was what we were suggesting for participants. Oh, another general question, check-in and check-out times at the hotel. Check-in time is 3 p.m. and check-out is 12 p.m. Sorry, just combing through the questions here and making sure everyone's questions have been answered. Oh, okay. Couple, again, more general questions is how many women are registered for the conference? So at this time, we have about 150 women that are joining us from all over. We have participants all the way from Alaska to Vermont to Florida, so it's going to be a very diverse group. And I think Susan mentioned in her introduction as well that we will be also joined this year for the first time by women parliamentarians coming from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Libya, and Morocco. So we're very excited about the size of our group. This is our biggest conference yet, and also about the diversity of our group. So it should be a really, really exciting 3 days. Let's see, and following on that question, someone asked if the parliamentarians who are joining us from overseas will be participating in Lobby Day. And yes, they will be participating in Lobby Day. They have sort of their own set of meetings scheduled based on, issues as they relate to their home countries. But yes, they will also be lobbying. Let's see. So I'm not really seeing any more questions about Lobby Day. Have gotten a few questions about breaks for exercise, and yes, we will be doing that during the conference. So we'll have short videos so that we can all get up and stretch during the breaks that are in our agenda. Let's see. Once again, the hotel check-in and check-out. Check-in is at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and check-out of the hotel is 12 p.m. And as Kathy mentioned, on lobby day especially, it's really not advised to take your luggage with you to the Hill for security reasons, getting in the security, and also just, being able to keep an eye on your bag and that sort of thing. And so there will be a concierge at the hotel where you can store your luggage while you're on the Hill. Okay, here's a more lobby day specific question for you, Kathy. Do you have any strategies to suggest if our member of Congress kind of dominates the meeting? How do you advise, being respectful, as you said, and not argumentative, but still getting questions in?
That's a good question, and I think one of the things that I try to do is just politely redirect and see if you can ask another question. So they're, rambling on about how difficult it is to deal with the other party, or for example, and you could say, oh, well, that's interesting. We've found that a lot of people have had luck working across the aisle on this issue of women, peace, and security because it's something that obviously everybody cares about. What do you think of that? There's some way of sort of taking the question, taking what they're talking about. We did some training with Truman National Security Project, and they taught us about how to do this connect and then lead. So, you try to find a way to connect with where they're at and then work and lead them to the question that you want them to address.
Great. So if for some reason someone has a meeting scheduled with their member of Congress and they're forced to cancel, should we still try to meet with their staff?
Absolutely. Some of the better meetings often are with staff because members are so busy with so many different issues, and it is great to see them and for them to see you, but sometimes, and particularly I found that this is true with legislators, there might be lots of other things that they want to talk to you about, and so it's kind of hard to get them maybe to focus on the issue that you really want to talk about this time when you're meeting with them. But the staff, is working on that legislation, working on that issue, and they might be really interested in having a more in-depth conversation and helping to figure out some specific things that their bosses could do. The other thing that I would say, in Washington, people move up very quickly. There are a couple of people that I remember meeting with at meetings, and I thought, oh, I've met with another 15-year-old. And then a couple of years later, they're like the chair of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or they work at the White House now, or in the State Department, or they're the chief of staff for another senator. So, really just taking the time and having the best conversation with whoever you're meeting with is a good idea. And also, this is particularly true in the House. You might find yourself standing up in the hallway outside because they don't have space available. And I urge people to not think that that's like the height of rudeness. Why are they treating me this way? Sometimes it really is true that they just do not have space to meet anywhere, and they've got too much going on, and they just can't make it work. So, meetings might happen in difficult places, and sometimes, the meetings that you have are not a great connection, and you did not talk to the right person. But I think it's worth having done that, having left the information, and then following up and trying to find the right person to talk to.
And speaking of information, Kathy, can you talk more about resources that are available to our conference participants that they can use to educate themselves about our issues?
Well, we will have a lot of information, as I said, at the conference. We do have information now on our website about all of these different key issues that we work on. And the specific issues that we're lobbying on, again, will be the Women, Peace, and Security agenda on nuclear weapons policy and pushing for nuclear weapons reductions, and then Pentagon spending, which is our key mission to shift excessive military spending to other human and environmental needs. So there's lots of information on our website about that, and you'll be seeing more, and you'll hear some of the most amazing panelists at our conference talking about these issues. So I think you'll feel very well informed. And I also, particularly with women, we never think we know enough. And I just want to assure you that after the training that you've had on all three of these issues, you will know way more than enough to be really experts on these issues. And you should think of yourselves as experts, and not only as the issue experts, but really as very important and powerful constituents, and just go in with a lot of confidence that you know, and the message that you're delivering is very important, and you know what you're talking about.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Again, I'm not seeing any more questions about Lobby Day, so just one last call for questions in case anyone has one. Otherwise, we can go ahead and wrap up. Oh, one more question. So, Kathy, if during the meeting, is it okay to bring up other issues other than the 3 WAND issues?
Well, what we would really prefer is that you cover all the issues that we're talking about and get as much as you can out of those issues first. And then, if there's time and there's a great deal of interest, I'm not gonna. I don't think I can stop you. So I'm not going to say absolutely not. But if you could please try to make sure that you do address the issues that we've developed materials and we'll be talking about at the conference.
All right. Well, Kathy, just wanted to say thank you to you for going through Lobby Day and answering questions for everyone. And also thank you to Susan for your introduction. And as I said, we're looking forward to seeing all of you in 10 days in Washington, D.C. And if you think of any more questions about Lobby Day or about the agenda or anything like that, please feel free to contact us. As Kathy said, she's the Lobby Day expert. So please contact her if you have specific questions about Lobby Day. But if you have any other questions about the hotel or logistics or anything like that, please contact me, Dee Fokiwa, or contact Kimberly Neono. And we're very much looking forward to having you and wish you all safe travels. And we'll see you in 10 days. Thank you very much.